We are back with the Dream is Free podcast. This is episode 4. Very excited about our guest today. He was on an old podcast that Mike had set up. He's a good friend of ours, local guy. His name is Chris Barrett. He is a registered dietitian, right?
Yep.
At Hartford Healthcare. He's also a certified strength and conditioning coach, right?
Yep.
And he's also the track and field coach at Greens Farms Academy.
Yep. No, I think basically one of the things is appreciate every day that you have.
Right.
Because you don't know when your day is not going to be there anymore. And the other thing is truly love those people around you.
Yeah.
To enjoy the day and enjoy your friends too.
Awesome. I think it was, an amazing, inspiring story. It was like, it really like puts a lot into perspective, I think, for everybody who's going to listen to it. Just be like, wow, like I need to take a step back.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
appreciate everything going on in my life and remember how quickly things can change and how unexpectedly things can change too.
Yeah, and again, like you guys are guys that I always think about when I think of Fairfield, Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut, this area down here, southwestern Connecticut. Keep doing what you're doing. You're definitely helping some people out.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm truly appreciative and grateful you guys had me on here.
All right, guys, we are back with the Dream is Free podcast. This is episode 4. I'm your host, Jake Healy, and our other host / super producer, Mike Theophil, is over here.
Hello.
Very excited about our guest today. He was on an old podcast that Mike had set up. He's a good friend of ours, local guy. His name is Chris Barrett. He is a registered dietitian, right?
Yep.
At Hartford Healthcare. He's also a certified strength and conditioning coach, right?
Yep.
And he's also the track and field coach at Greens Farms Academy.
Yep.
Did I get that intro?
Got it.
Okay, good. I almost forgot it for a second, but
It's all right. We're good. It's been a long day.
Yeah. But no, we're really excited to have you on here. I mean, I think like I'm excited to hear your story because I never really got to hear. We know each other from the fitness edge, from the gym, from around town and everything. And when I first started running, you were like my go-to runner. You know what I mean? Like when I saw you in the gym, I was bouncing questions off you. Like I think the first time I was going to run a half marathon, I was asking you about running a half marathon.
For sure, yeah.
And just
getting
that.
On
it. Yeah, just getting that was year 2013. You know, so going back pretty far.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're always like my go-to runner in my head. You know.
Oh, that means a lot, bud. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Of course. And then obviously everything, that went, it was crazy to see how your path changed and the way that you were able to handle it. But I'm not going to get too far into it because I want to let you share exactly what happened and like the life story behind it. And then we'll have definitely some questions for you after we get through it.
Yeah, for sure. So Jake, you sort of started, that was my main focus in life in general, was just becoming a better runner. And that was my thing, right? Through school, through my entire career of high school, and even going into college, that's when I really started ramping it up. And I loved it so much because that was my time. Most people nowadays are like doing things like meditation and things like that, which just zone out your mind. That was me. Most people ask me.
That's what you got through running.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. It's like just like my mind goes blank when I'm running almost.
And for me, it was just like when I got out on the road, the rhythmic of my steps would be just like people who breathe in and out, right? Yeah. So for me, that was my Zen moment,
right?
For sure. And then I really enjoyed like pushing.
Yeah.
You
were a fast runner, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. That was the fun part, is just trying to see what I could do, potential of what I could do. But yeah, I started the half marathon. I built up to a marathon, and then also just trying to race a marathon.
Right.
Not just to complete it. I wanted to try and really push.
Yes, there's two different types of runners. There are runners like me who are like, okay, I'm going out here. I'm going to finish this. This is my goal. I'm not competing against anybody. I'm competing against myself, I'm going out here to prove something to me, and I'm going to finish this. And then there's people like Chris where it's like, all right, there's these people from Kenya that are coming here to run this race, and I'm going to try to beat them.
Right.
But
the thing is you're still out there.
Yeah.
You're still out there.
Still out. Yeah. No, I'm not downplaying it at all. Like I think
sure.
anybody out there trying to run and do better and put, build that into their life, go for it. Like compete against yourself. So I'm the same way, but it's just like two different levels of running. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I started to compete, and I started A big one was my first marathon, which was in Hartford. Wasn't a major thing. That time I was just completing it. My worst fear was, am I going to have to go to the bathroom during the marathon? So I was just like, oh, let me just finish it, enjoy it. I ran like 3 hours and 27 minutes.
For a full marathon,
For a full
it's
marathon.
pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, that was pretty good. I really enjoyed the experience of training for it.
What year is this? Just so like for some perspective.
2009.
2009, okay.
2009, I did that. And then I was like, okay, I did it. And then I was like, okay, I'm competitive. I wanted to try and break 3 hours. Because 3 hours for me at that time was the Boston Marathon.
Right, Boston qualifier, yeah.
Yeah, and it gave me just like some incentive to do it. So for me, I did it. And the second time I ran it, I think I was the most fit then. But I ran 2 hours and 57 minutes.
Wow.
There was a headwind the whole second half. And I was just like
running into it.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, this is why I love it.
Right.
Because that's the thing with the marathon too. You can't really change the day. So depending on if it's raining, if it's windy, if it's super hot, you got to deal with it. Everybody's dealing with the same thing, but you really get to compete.
Yeah.
So I love that aspect. So I qualified my second marathon. I was ecstatic. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like I'm actually doing things. So I did that. Then 2011, I trained for Boston. That year, had a few hiccups during the running training part, but during Boston training, it was the year we had like 3 feet of snow here. So all I remember is there were places where the stop sign, the snow was all the way up to the stop sign.
I remember that storm.
And I was like, I'm out there. I was running my miles out there. I was doing all my workouts.
It's peaceful though, right?
For sure.
Running in the snow.
I was afraid to slip. But
Yeah.
You ever see that thing on
that video of the woman on the news where they're like, "What are you doing out here?"
I was like, please don't let that be me. So I didn't. But then I trained. The end of the buildup of it, I got a really bad chest cold. I was like, damn, I can't like breathe on my normal run. I sort of took a day off and then just kept pushing through it. Which probably was not a good idea, and that leads to my story too. But that happened, and I went there. Boston turned out like a dream. I hit the flow state, and for people who don't know what that is, that's when you feel like time is just not the same. It either goes really fast or it goes super slow.
Right. It's like a runner's high times 10. It's like, yeah.
So I was looking down my watch every mile, and then it seemed like I woke up at mile 23. I woke up and I was going right next to the T in Boston. I was like, where am I? And I looked at my watch. It was like almost time for like the end of the race.
Wow.
So I finished in 2 hours and 48 minutes.
Wow.
So yeah, it was
killed Boston time. Yeah.
And during that time, I was just pushing because I was like, I'm faster than I'm supposed to be at my marathon pace. But I'm like, I'm gonna do this one time. Right. I just want to push as hard as I can, compete myself, not against anybody else, but just keep pushing. So I did that. That was probably my favorite time because you really embrace the city when you're there.
Yeah.
It was pretty epic. And then going for 3 years later, 2015. I did the New York City Marathon. That's really cool. You feel the bridge shaking in the middle and the beginning of it.
The Verrazano Bridge, right?
That's cool.
And there's thousands and thousands of people
It's literally shaking.
The energy has to be crazy, right?
Yeah, and then you go under this bridge. It's like right at mile 16. Coming out of a bridge, it's pitch quiet. You hear like a pin drop in there. You turn. It's just like your ears just exploded. You're going like to a rock concert.
Oh, wow.
And I finished 2 hours and 51 minutes there.
Nice.
So again, I was super
good sub 3 times, yeah.
Yeah, and finished in the top 300.
Wow.
And yeah, so I was like, okay, this is really, really fun.
Yeah.
Then I started to try and get a little bit faster. So I was running 5Ks, things like that, just locally because I'm getting more into my career and stuff like that. But as I got into running, then I'll go into the story now too, is October 26th, or 20th, excuse me, October 20th. I was running down by the beach.
This is 2017.
17, yep.
So at this point, you've gone through all these races. You've graduated with your master's. You're a registered dietitian now, right?
Yeah. So let me go back a little bit. So during the Boston Marathon, I was completing my graduate studies.
Right.
And then during the New York City Marathon, I just completed my dietetic internship at Yale New Haven Hospital.
Okay.
So just to put it into perspective, at Yale New Haven Hospital, what it is that for the internship, it's a whole year, totally unpaid.
Just show up and work.
Show up, and you really get the best experience possible. It's just really everything that you would do as a dietitian, you're doing day in, day out as an intern.
Right.
You're right next to a real dietitian, but they're the ones who are sort of just showing you the way.
Gotcha.
So I did that. So those days are long, really, really long. Plus, then I would train. And I remember there's a few times when I'd be training for the New York City Marathon, and I'd be doing this workout. It'd be like 8:30, pitch quiet in the track by yourself, no lights, just you, your thoughts, and that was really meditative for me. And I really could push really hard. So those things still come with me today. But overall, that was super, super fun. And for me, I found too that at those times, you really build a lot of character. You saw me at the gym early in the morning, and then those things would also be happening in the evening.
It adds like an extra discipline into your life, and like when you say to yourself like, okay, I'm going to run this marathon, whether you're training to run it as a competitive race or you're training to just finish it, it adds this extra like this discipline in your life where you're like, okay, I have to be at work at 9 o'clock. This means I have to wake up at 5 o'clock so that I can go run to get this in, and I got to run after work. It's just like.
Exactly. Yeah. But the other part of it too is I put myself in very uncomfortable situations. So for example, the track workout at 8:30 at night, we're talking fall, right? We're talking like fall, summertime. So like right about now. Yeah. And for me, that was just like, when I get into a hard point in the race, I'm always like, I worked for this. These are the things that I remember. I sort of take like a snapshot every time I do something hard or something.
The track workout kicks in when you're feeling tired and you need to push.
Yeah, I just remember that night nobody else is working out when I'm working out. I tried to make it so when my competition was working out, I was working out.
Yeah, that's like Mike Tyson or
Kobe
or
MJ.
The other boxer. Mike Tyson. They were like, Mike, why are you out here running at 3:30 in the morning? Because my competition's asleep.
Right. And during those times, I was a person, I was definitely burning the candles at both ends.
Right.
I was really trying to sort of, when my competition was sleeping or stretching, whatever, getting ready for bed, I was hammering it. Yeah. Right. I was hitting the pavement real hard, long tempo runs. I did a 10-mile tempo run. So 10 miles in under an hour. Right. And for most elite athletes, runners, that's like normal. But for us normal guys who are trying to be like competitive, that's pretty good.
Brutal, yeah. I run 5 miles in 40 minutes if I'm lucky. So
So those things are all going through my mind during these marathons, and I'm like, I pushed hard. I got to push hard now because even if I'm really, really hurting, I got to keep pushing. Yeah. So nice. Going back to October 20th, right? So I get to October 20th down by the beach road, and it was a day after clinic when I was working at Yale New Haven Hospital. So it was a long day at clinic. 7 o'clock, I leave the gym. Right? And as I'm running down the gym, down the post road, that was just my normal Friday thing to do, turn, and then I'm going down towards the Jennings Beach pavilion where the people are standing. And I was like, man, I just don't feel right. Something just doesn't feel good. So I was like, I'm going to head back. So I'm just recovering from an injury. As I'm running back, all of a sudden I pass out, right? And I don't feel like I passed out. I thought I got hit by a car. Because I wake up on my back feeling like a little cold, and EMTs, firefighters, police officers, lights are blaring, not really much sound, but everything's just going off.
See it, yeah.
I see it, and I'm like, I initially thought when I woke up, I was like, where am I first, and who are these people?
You thought you got hit by a car?
Yeah, because I'm on my back on the grass, and I'm like, oh, God. And I looked, I felt my legs, and I was trying to get up, and they're like, Chris, stay right there, stay right there. I tried to get up just to, like you said, if I got hit by a car, I probably feel something, right? But I didn't feel anything. So eventually I sit up, and they take me in an ambulance to Bridgeport Hospital. I go in there. This really super nice nurse, Gina, she sort of took care of me. She was like, Chris, do you want anything to eat? I was like, yeah, I could really go for a PB&J. And she gave me a PB&J.
Nice. So shout out to Gina at Bridgeport Hospital, holding it down.
But it was nice to just do that. But I was admitted to the hospital. So throughout this whole time, so I basically had an admission of 5 days at Bridgeport Hospital, doing a lot of different tests. So all the tests were to check to see my heart, and everything from just an ultrasound to an MRI. I was in an MRI machine for 90 minutes, just sitting there, the loud banging.
I've had that done before for my hip.
Yeah. So you're just in there for 90 minutes. They're like, Chris, hold your breath, and you'd have to go through all these cycles. So I did that.
Did they do an EKG on the way to the hospital in the ambulance?
Yeah.
Did they say anything at that point? Or?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
But definitely they
Yeah.
definitely did those
Okay.
for sure. But as I was doing it, all those exams, I was like, what is wrong with me? I feel fine now, right? I didn't feel like anything was up.
Right.
And then basically it was the 4th day going to the 5th day. What they were saying is the doctor came in and he gave me a piece of paper and he was like, Chris, we're going to do this, what they call like an electrophysiology test. So they basically tried to reinduce what happened to me. So I don't want to make the story too complicated, but what happens is there's something called tachycardia. Tachycardia
High
is
heart rate.
yeah, really high heart rate. So my heart rate went up to 300 beats per minute as I was lying on the ground. 300 beats per minute, and I joked with Mike, I think last time, that's like EM, like electric music.
Right.
Just boom, 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 boom. Like, I don't even think
You can almost,
that.
if you
Yeah.
try to listen to a heart rate at that, you could barely hear the heart rate at
Yeah.
300, right?
Yeah, so
crazy.
that happened, and I went from 150 to 300, right? And it escalates like that. So during this this electrophysiology test that they do, you go in like a surgery room, and they basically put you out, right? Like sedated, and then they try to reinduce that arrhythmia. So they tried to reinduce the arrhythmia, and they did. And I can remember when I was on the table, I felt it and then fell asleep. I felt it and just passed out.
So they made you pass out again? Like it was like your heart rate spiked up? passed
Yeah,
out.
I felt like I passed out. I don't know if they
Okay.
wanted me to do that, but the whole reason for this, the paper I signed, that's when I felt like I was like signing away my running career. You know, I was signing my running career because if I did this, you have what they call an ICD, and mine was also a pacemaker, but it looks like it's like this big, and they put it in your chest. You could probably even see it right here.
Yeah.
But
You're like Iron Man.
Yeah.
I wish I was Iron Man. He had a lot of money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they put it in your chest.
Yep.
But when that happened, I was like signing away, and that broke down there. It was pretty.
They gave you a paper that said we're putting the ICD in.
Yeah. So I
Sign here.
signed
You'll
it
never
away.
run again.
Yeah. If we can reinduce it, like there's a high likely you're never going to be able to run again. And during that time, I remember one of my really close friends, mentors. You know him too, Wiley.
Right. Wiley.
So Wiley Mullins, super mentor for me, and he'll come back later on to this too. But he really just sat down with me, just prayed with me, and was like, Chris, everything is going to be all right. There's a reason. There's a reason why. So I was like, okay, I trust. I'm 100% in. So signed it, reinduced the arrhythmia on the table. Woke up, and as I was going down, right? Let me reverse. I'm sorry for jumping around.
Oh,
You're good.
But as I'm going down for surgery, I'm thinking of like all the things in my life that I've done that I'm going to be missing, right? And as I see it, there's panels on the ceilings, and you're passing the panels, and those things are flying by,
Right.
and you're just like tears are coming down my eyes because I'm like, man, this is it. This is like
The end of your life.
yeah. Because for me, and I joke with my fiance now, running was my first love.
Right.
It was one of those things where like people would say, "Hey, Chris, you want to go to a party or something like that?" I'm the straightest edge kid you know. I've never done any drugs or smoked a cigarette even, but I didn't do that. Running was more important to me, and as I did that, going down, tears are just streaming down my face. I get in there, and as I'm in there, the guy was just like this: "You're gonna be all right, bud. You're in our hands." I'm like, I know. And then it's sort of like at a race. When you're at the start line, you get a little nervous.
You weren't crying because of the surgery. You were crying because of everything that you were losing, right?
Yeah, everything I'm
Yeah.
potentially going to be losing. And my one thought was, okay, after this, I'm just going to reach up for my chest, feel if something there is there. So I come out of surgery, reach up, feel something. I'm like, that's my ICD. That's it, right? The only way I can describe it for people who aren't aware what it is, it feels like a skipping rock that's in your chest. So I felt it up there, and I was like, oh God. And then I had the ice pack, and then it was a sling. So the stuff after that, you can't raise your arm past here for
Ever?
for 6 weeks. Six
So just-
weeks you can't lift your arm up. So you got to keep it by your side, like basically the whole time. So the reason for that is the leads. So just give you an idea, an ICD is this electronic device like this, but it has these wires that come down to your heart. Those are then sutured or like stitched into your heart to stay there. So you can't lift here because then it will rip out.
Got it.
And then basically, if you need it, it's not going to be there. So I felt it, and I was like, man, I was low there. That was low. But after that, my main thing for whenever I go through something like this is first and foremost is to be thankful I'm here. Number one.
Just alive, yeah, right?
Yeah. But then the other thing is to get back right into it. So you mentioned I'm a track coach and cross country coach. That is the time where I am 100% myself and don't even think about it. That's the only time in my life where I don't think about my ICD anymore. Where I'm there with the kids at Greens Farms Academy, and these kids now are
Shout out Greens Farms.
and these kids now are now going to be seniors. So these are the kids who see me when I was at my running peak to now where I am now. Right.
Right. Yeah. The last 4 years.
So they have an appreciation for what I was doing before, and it's not that I want them to appreciate it because I ran, but they understand.
Right.
So as that happens,
I wonder if they appreciate running more because they know like
I hope
your
so.
story.
It could be taken away.
Yeah, it could be taken away like
Right.
that. And actually, I'll tell you with the story, I don't want to keep going back and forth, but the idea of that I gave the kids today. So yesterday they had a race, and the one thing I said is pretend this is going to be your last race because of COVID going
Leave it all
on.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, leave it all out because you don't know if this is your last race or not. So all this stuff keeps like sort of going together. But I went to GFA right after. So Wednesday was the last day where I came out of surgery with my suture still there, still the bandage over and everything, still in a sling. And I get home, and this was a tough time. I'm in my recliner that my parents had at their house. I'm there. Nobody else is there.
Just sitting there with yourself.
Because what I noticed is everybody during this issue, my parents were super supportive, right? And I was very, very grateful for that. But as I'm sitting there, one thing that I realize is everybody else's life continues.
Right.
Everything just keeps going, and you're in the only way I can describe it feels like you're underwater, and you can't do anything, right? And you're really just all in your mind. And you guys could probably think, but I always do this too. But if you listen, this is what you hear.
Right.
That silence, and that silence is one of the biggest things to sort of overcome.
Yeah.
So at that point, I had this idea of, and I said this to Mike last time too, but I didn't want to be a victim. So I had a point at that time where I could be a victim, right? Where I'm a victim of what happened to me.
Yeah, you could say, why me? Why me?
Yeah.
Poor me, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, so then my mindset sort of went from that to why not me? Why can't I do something great, right?
Right.
Why can't I
like
do
that.
something?
Why not me? Yeah.
Yeah, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? I've always set ambitious goals, but that was why. I did it with running, and now I had to do it with life, right? Even if the greatest thing in your life at that time was taken away. So that happened, went right back to practice. So I did that, and that was really helpful. That was the first thing to sort of get me back to normal. I'm using air quotes, but normal, because it's not normal.
Right.
It's not normal. So then we'll fast forward. So that was in October going into November. Then I go to March. So I began to start running again.
I remember. So like I remember seeing you at the gym. I remember when you were just on the treadmill
Yep.
in there walking. You were just doing a slow walk, and I kept asking him like, you ever gonna run again? I don't think I understood like
Right.
the
The
veracity of
yeah.
the situation, like
Right.
Yeah.
Like the
But-
severity of what he
Yeah.
was going through in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started doing that really gentle, like running. Worked with a Dr. Thompson. He works with Athlete's Heart.
Shout out Dr. Thompson.
Those types of people in your life, they come there for a reason. So,
Right.
But he was there, and he was like, "Yeah, Chris, you can do like running, but you have to keep your heart rate below 140." So it was March 16th, I believe, where I went out for a run. That day, I forgot my heart rate monitor.
what'd you just say to yourself? Forget it. I'm gonna go for it.
So like I'll keep it easy. I can sort of know where my heart's going to be, right? My heart rate's going to be. So you'll know this because you're a Fairfield guy too. But you're running. I'm running right in front of the post. On the post road, right in front of Town Hall. Town Hall's on my left. The sidewalk there is super rocky.
right.
I pass out, fall on my face. This is Tuesday before a day of work. So I get up and I'm like, oh, my face. Did I break my nose again? So I broke it 3 times playing high school sports and like playing football with our friends and stuff like that. So I was like, how did I break it again? I get up and I'm like, oh God. Some guy saw me, called the ambulance. Ambulance was there, and I signed that I didn't want to get in the ambulance.
Oh, you declined.
Yes.
going?
So I declined, right? And there was definitely stuff with EKGs, I'm sure, that were happening. But what I decided, so I'm very close to, again, Wiley's office. I go and walk to his office. It's like a quarter of a mile away. As I'm walking, my device beeps loud. And I'm like, I didn't know if it went off or is it about to go off. So I fell on my face. The device went off, right? Same thing. My heart rate was 150 up to 300.
And then the device kicks in after it spikes up to 300 to bring it back down.
So it has to shock it to get it back in. So the issue that I had with my heart is something electrical. So it's nothing with the pipes and all that.
Right.
It's all with the electrical system of the heart. So biggest thing that happened there was my heart got like shocked. So everybody's seen on like ER where they have the paddles.
Right.
Shot.
Yeah. Yep.
That's basically my chest.
Got it.
Just a little one. So after that, as that's happening, I was like, oh, did it go off? Or was I just lucky again?
Right.
So it did go off at that time, but it was just signaling me that it did go off. So I went there and I walked. My face is like bloody, like it's bleeding. So I walk in to the office and.
What were you thinking? Like, why did you say no to the ambulance? Like, were you just, I'm done with this? You were like, I'm just.
you'll see my motivation. I got to get to work.
Okay.
I would have went to work like bloody and they'd been
Got
like,
it,
Chris,
got it,
you got to
okay.
go home.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
for me, I'm always that person to just get in there and go.
Right.
And do that and get it done. But
Right.
I was like, oh, I'm going to be late for work.
Yeah.
So I walked there, and they're like, Chris, you gotta sit down. It doesn't look good. So I sat down.
This is at Wiley's office.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wiley wasn't there yet. I was early. It was probably like 7:30ish, 7:45. So I walked there and then do that. And then as I'm walking out, I had them call my mom. And we walk across the street to the cardiologist there. They tell us all the stuff that went on. Then they sent me to the emergency room. So I should have took the
Should've
ambulance.
just took the ride, yeah.
Took the ride, but I'm
Yep.
paying for it probably. But
Yeah.
so that was a big one there. So that was the second time that this event sort of has happened. And then more recently, so let's fast forward.
What are you thinking
Yeah.
after it goes off the second time when you're trying to run?
Oh, guys, is
Like-
this going to be my regular life? Or is this how it's going to be?
Right. Because you had like your hopes shot down. Like you were like, I'm never going to be able to run again. And then
Yeah, like
then you had this glimpse of hope where it's like, okay, I'm going to be able to run again.
Yeah.
And then this happened. And like after this happened, it had to have been like to you like, all right,
yeah, the
maybe
other-
I'm not running.
like the door's open.
Okay.
Like the door's just ajar and you're like, oh, I still can do something.
Right.
Right? Like I could still go for a run with you. I would just be like, Jake, I got to keep it slow.
Yeah.
But like,
I'd keep it slow
would you
anyways.
mind? Because that's the one thing I really miss about it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, like the camaraderie of running with other
Yeah,
people.
for sure. And not the competitive thing anymore. It's just all about like other things too,
Right.
that you miss from there. But yeah, that was a really tough time. That was low.
Yeah.
That was really low. But then all these things in my life, I've become a really believer. And what I mean by that is my Savior, sort of Lord Jesus Christ, to do
Right.
this kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
But I think, and it's important for me to understand, or for people to understand, he redirected me. So what I mean by redirected me is I put everything into running, but there's so much more to life other
Right.
than just running and being in good shape, looking the part, all those things. So that was something that began to happen. But the one thing that I do miss, or I sort of experienced, and you probably remember this, it was at the gym too, but I would come to the gym and people always used to be in awe of how fast I would run on the treadmill.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, oh man,
Like, who's this psychopath on
Yeah.
the treadmill over here?
Seriously. The craziest thing about Chris, like when you were running at that time, is like I'd be at the gym, I'd see Chris, I'd go get a lunch somewhere in downtown. He'd be running again. I just
Yeah.
saw him at the gym.
You always see him, yeah,
dude, it
always.
was awesome. It was so motivating, you know?
So on that part too, I used to run like 110 miles a week.
He,
That's like-
he told me that. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's
dude.
crazy.
yeah, so it was.
Were
yeah.
you a spiritual person before all of this happened? Like, did you have like that connection with a higher power, like going like before all this happened, or was this like an
It brought you
eye-opening
closer, maybe?
experience where?
Yeah, so I think I'll put it in this way. I think I was a fan.
Okay.
I was a fan of Jesus and God.
And like
things
the
that.
bonuses, you know,
Right.
like all the perks.
You were
I don't
like-
want to do the other. I don't.
You're an
yeah.
Easter Sunday kind of guy.
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
I didn't sacrifice that much.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
But that happened. But then now I'm definitely a follower
Oh yeah.
because he redirects me several.
I got a gift for you after this, actually.
Oh yeah.
I got a gift for you.
Yeah.
You're gonna appreciate it.
Thank you.
I got you.
But yeah, that was the one time. But going back to, everybody used to look at me like you guys were saying, like Mike, you're saying like you're in awe. Like, what I would do on the treadmill, like people, I would be running like 10. If you're familiar with the treadmill, like a 10 for like an hour.
10
Dude, you
miles,
look like
10 miles per hour.
You look
which
like-
for running is fast.
If you guys are listening to the show, you're not watching on YouTube, just picture a Terminator movie and picture like the dudes running at the cars on the highway. That's like the speed that
exactly.
Chris, and like that's what it looked like.
Yeah. But for me, that was like the fun part, right? That was the
Hell
other
yeah.
thing too. Is like you guys were in awe of that.
Yeah.
But now how it switched after, everybody was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." So you switch from, "Oh my God, that's amazing," just something I didn't crave, but I really felt good when that happened.
Right. Yeah.
But then the awe of it, like, "Oh man, I'm sorry that happened to you. Why did it happen to you?"
Right.
Right. And all
Pity
the-
party.
Yeah, and then it's everybody.
Right.
It's not like just one time. It's like every time you go in there, are you running anymore? And that's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not running anymore. I felt like I let people down.
Yeah. Oh my
Even now,
God.
even now. So I don't live in Fairfield anymore. But even when I come down to Fairfield, that's the first question people ask me.
Yeah.
Do you run anymore?
I mean, we were talking about the last podcast,
Yeah.
and Mike was saying, like, on that podcast, you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
I wasn't Chris Barrett.
Yes.
I was the runner named
Chris
Barrett.
Barrett. Yeah.
You know?
biggest thing I take away from this too
Yes.
is now what I do is I do not classify what I do. That's the biggest thing that I was doing before is I classified myself by what I do,
Right.
not who I am.
Right.
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 Like you're Chris Barrett, a nutritionist, coach, but you're Chris Barrett first.
Yeah, but for me, it's actually deeper than that. For me, I'm Chris Barrett, somebody with a deep heart who truly cares about you, for my patients, for my athletes I work with.
Hell yeah.
So I'm genuinely trying to care and be like a heartfelt, heart deep that I'm really caring for you.
Yeah.
You know. But that was the biggest struggle there. People were on me. Now they're saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," right? Or, "Oh, why did it happen to you?" But so God redirected me. I took some like just time by myself and took it all in. But redirection was I started dating my fiance now.
Hey yo.
Shout out to Taryn.
So
Shout out Taryn.
so Taryn, she's the sweetest girl ever. But what I did is I started going out because I was like, I have to show who I really am, not what I was, not a runner, not this. I sort of have to have something that provides me something meaningful in life,
Right.
and that was 100% Taryn.
Did you have like an identity crisis? Like you were
yeah.
you were like, I don't know who I am. Like,
biggest, and this is something I don't think anybody knows, but every day I look and I see the ICD. I'm in the mirror brushing my teeth. I see the ICD every day.
right.
So it's like one of those things where it's there, and it was really tough in the beginning. Right now it's almost just like, oh, it's normal.
Right.
But then it was really not an identity crisis, but it was just like I had a lot of guilt. You know, I had a lot of guilt, and like, did I do it to myself? Did I not sort of see the way that, again, God wants me to live? Am I not living by the rules? Like, what's going on? Like, what did I do? But that was a big switch for me. And Taryn, literally, life change.
Yeah.
Life change. Because, again, we hit it off right away.
Yep.
And we just had a great time, right? We just really got, like, what each other were going through, what we had gone through. But I even told her on our first date exactly what happened to me. Like,
You did tell her?
yeah, I said, yeah, I have an ICD in my chest, and
You're like, hey, by the way.
no,
If you hear something beeping, call 911.
yeah, thank God that hasn't.
You want to get
happened.
ice cream? Right?
Yeah, but it was just that time, and I was like, oh yeah. But with Taryn and I, it really went really well.
Gotcha.
And the thing that I noticed with that too is I just had this guilty feeling, and during this whole time, even right now, I have this like urgency that I'm living with. And when I mean urgency that I'm living with, I really have this like I'm on borrowed time.
Yeah, like have you seen Hamilton?
No.
Yeah, there's a song in there, and there's obviously millions of songs in there.
Yeah.
But there's one song where like they keep repeating, "Why are you writing like you're running out of time? Why are you writing like you're running out of time?" And he, you know, if you know Hamilton's story, well, I won't spoil it for anybody out there. They got to see it. It's a great show. But I can relate to it. I can relate to that.
Yeah, because it's just one of those things like this guilt, like, man, I had time. Did I waste it doing something that was not worth it, running-wise? You know, how could I have made it better during those times?
Like, did you focus too much on running when you should have been focused on
I
other things? Or
I missed the little things.
Okay.
Like, I missed the little things, like going outside and being like, man, summer is amazing. Versus, summer is short shorts and no shirt days, right? Like that kind of stuff.
It's funny because I was running Monday. We had somebody on our podcast. Our friend Danny came on the podcast, and like we got deep in this podcast.
Deep.
Really
We're talking
deep.
omens, divine destiny.
How you need to appreciate everything in
Every
life.
moment.
Just appreciate waking up, you know.
Yeah.
And like I'm kind of the same way as you. Like if I'm training for something, everything else kind of like it falls by the wayside, and it's like I'm just zoned in on trying to do what I'm trying to do, and it just becomes more and more and more and more and more, you know?
Yeah.
So I went for a run. I'm training right now for a run, right? So I went to go run the other day, and my route in my head was to go from my house around St. Mary's to Jennings Beach, touch the railing at the end of the pier, the fishing pier,
and back.
Turn around and do an out and back, right? That was I was like, this is in my head. This is what I'm going to do. This is the time that I'm going for.
Yeah.
Let's go. So I start going. I'm having a good run, good pace, going really, really hard, feeling good. Beautiful out. It was at night, you know, later. Sun was setting, you know?
Yeah.
Get to the pier, and there's this bigger guy holding fishing poles that are sticking out everywhere, right? Like kind of walking, and I'm like, damn, like, should I yell, excuse me right now, or try to squeeze by him? And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to walk behind this guy. Yeah. I'm going to look at the ocean. I'm going to enjoy the ocean. I'm going to enjoy the sun setting for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy the beautiful weather, acknowledge what's going on around me, and then I'll get to that railing, I'll touch it, and then I'll run back, you know? So it was kind of just like talking that day on that podcast was like, just slow down. It's not all about running, like just, you know.
Going on that same thing, for me, I was like, those days that I did like my long run, I looked for the most brutal course you could find.
Right, hills, everything.
If there was a hill around, like, where is it? I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Like, if you guys are familiar with Easton, there's this one hill that's like
Sport Hill.
It's a half mile, like, straight.
I bike it all the time.
I used to call it the Widowmaker, because it's like it's super tough.
Yeah.
But then I'd go all the way to the cemetery.
Right.
I'd run Sport Hill all the way. And then I'd come back. That was my long run, and that was every Saturday.
Right.
Right?
For lunch.
For breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
I wake up early.
He's like, yeah, exactly, bitch.
No, but that was my day. So, but then Taryn really, in this perspective, she allowed me to start to see those things.
Right.
You know, we sort of had a good time. Like, we go to New York City, we go to do these things. We go
live.
apple picking, stuff like that.
Chris was like, oh, wow, there's flowers out
Yeah.
there.
Right.
Chris is like, wait, there's actually life out here?
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Hey, there's no coincidences. You
Yeah,
know? It's like
100%.
She probably came into your life for whatever reasons you came into her life at the right time. Yeah.
Exactly. And then that moves over to, then I changed jobs. So I moved from Yale New Haven Hospital to Hartford Hospital, the Bone and Joint Institute there too. And with that too, that's when I actually was on the first show.
Yep.
So I made that switch. That was a huge jump for me.
Right.
A huge jump for me because I was comfortable at Yale. I loved the people there, the people I worked with, the community, the culture in the digestive disease department where I worked.
Right.
Loved it. People were awesome. People were funny. It was a pleasure to go to work. Then as I'm going there, I had to move, get an apartment, all these things. Right. So as I do that, it was a life shakeup.
Yeah.
But Taryn was there for me. She was the one who was listening, and I'd listen to her if she had an issue. But that was something for me that was super helpful. And this shows you how much she cares about me. She changed her job for me.
Wow.
To get up there.
Wow.
Right. So now she works for Special Olympics.
Oh, shout out Special Olympics. No, because we have relations with them too, Downtime TV.
Yeah, but
that's awesome.
One of the things that I truly like about it is she loves her job. She loves what she's doing, and she also cares. I mean, if you're working with the Special Olympics like she does, and the efforts that they do,
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what's
really-
funny is I
Yeah.
did their mortgage for them, and when she said she worked at Special Olympics, I think I was like, oh, my brother hosted the Special Olympics, like he was the MC for them
Summer
and everything.
Olympics.
Yeah.
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 There you go.
That's
yeah.
funny.
But that brings
Small
me
world, yeah.
That was perfect because
Yeah.
actually Jake was my mortgage guy.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah.
And I was because Tara and I, we were from Middletown. We were gonna move to Berlin,
Mhm.
right? And for us, Berlin was just this like it was a small little move. We were still in like the area we wanted to be for 20 minutes her way, 20 minutes my way to work
Right.
to be sort of right in the middle. And Jake was there for us, but it was one of those things. And Jim, right?
Yeah.
They're super nice. All people from Fairfield.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
forget where I come from.
No, yeah. And yo,
Oh
Jake.
my God, listen. We
Yeah.
did a podcast this morning.
Yes.
It's crazy how things
Yo,
work out. We had a podcast this morning
Yeah.
at 7:30 this morning,
Yeah.
right? It's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
I actually work with him. He comes on the podcast.
Mhm.
His mom used to always say, "Don't forget where you came from,"
Yeah.
right? And literally on the podcast this morning, he starts talking about his mom, and I was like, "Yep, she always said, don't forget where you came from." It's
And-
crazy how you
and
just said it.
I know.
Not even 10 hours later, it's like,
100%. For me, the other aspect, too,
Oh my
the
God.
one other thing that
I love it.
this shows me where you can't really forget where you come from. My parents are like, I don't want
saints.
to, yeah, like literally, I could not ask for more. They're always there for me. My brother, same thing.
Shout out Billy.
Billy, yeah. Billy,
Goat.
Yeah. I mean, he inspired me in high school when he was playing basketball.
Me too.
He was a kid who just like he put in the work,
Dude.
but he inspired me in there. But my family, my parents, always there for me when I was not doing well, but also there. They'll be there for our wedding that's coming up too.
Awesome.
But one moment that I love and cherish now is every single time I could walk with my dad.
To go for a nice walk with him.
Yeah, and it could be like 10, 15 minutes, but it's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Did you hate walking before when you were a runner?
I used to think it's not a workout.
Right. Dude, same thing. I'd be like, but
Yeah.
COVID actually slowed, like, because I had to occupy so much time,
Yeah.
you know, and I had the dog. So I
Yeah.
was like, I was walking the dog 4 or 5 times a day, 2-mile walks. And I was like, oh, walking's not that bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's like the only time during that where you got a connection with another person that even if you're just walking by them, like, hey, how are you during
Yeah,
COVID, you
for
know?
Sure.
Yeah.
And but that was the thing is when I was walking my dad, it's just like that moment where you're like, man, this is what like it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
Not thinking about when's my run tomorrow,
Right.
right? And
Right.
it's just my dad and our dog Winnie. That's it.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and then let's fast forward to March this year,
Mhm.
2020. So
We thought we were in the clear.
Yeah,
right?
we thought we were
Yeah.
Gucci.
we just started.
God said, hold on, hold my
Yeah.
beer.
Yeah. So basically.
I had to.
So Jake and I were signing our mortgage stuff. We closed. We had to push it forward because our release ended April 1st.
Right.
So we closed March 30th, and we were the people who were in front of us who sold us the house. They were able to do it. So we got a picture. The 29th, Taryn and I have a picture in front of the house. We got the keys. Jim was there. Let us in. He's like, tomorrow you guys get to move in. And I was like, yes, this is amazing.
Right.
So that was a Wednesday. And that Thursday, wake up in Middletown. Taryn's got everything going. She's super organized, organized. Time management skills are good. She's ready to go.
Right.
So Thursday, I'm come home from work. That's my later day. So on those days, I could work from like basically 8:30, 9 o'clock, all the way to like 7:30. So come home for dinner. Taryn's like, hey, Chris, here's dinner. She made dinner. Super appreciative of those things too. Home, puts the plate on her table. We're eating. We're just discussing the move for tomorrow. And if she needed any help, how can I help? And sort of get those things going if we want to do something that day, right? Move even some stuff over there now. Get up, go clean off my dish. I'm like, I just don't feel good. I just don't feel right. So go back. I wasn't like I was passing out, but it just didn't feel right. Go sit down. Taryn's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And then go there. I look at my watch. So I have a watch that looks at my heart rate, just making sure that everything isn't going to like up to the hundreds while I'm sitting down or any higher. Then all of a sudden, I can't talk.
Oh, God.
I can't move my right leg, can't move my right arm, and I can't talk. So Taryn's with me right then, and she's like, Chris, you okay? She calls 911. EMTs come. Basically, I couldn't move those things, and I'm in the back. There's like blips that pop up now, but there's a time when I'm in the ambulance. As I'm in the ambulance, I'm trying to move my right leg, and it's just like glued to the table. And I'm like, or the gurney. Then I try and lift my left leg. I'm like, good, I got it. So I can think. At that moment, I'm frozen in my body. Think of like if you want to do something, but your body won't let you do it.
Jesus.
Your body won't. I was able to
It's
think.
like sleep paralysis, like when you have one of those dreams where you're trying to wake yourself up, but you're just stuck.
Yeah.
I've had one of those. It's scary.
Yeah. So I'm in the back there, and I wake like another blip that comes up is I'm in like an emergency room. It's Middlesex Hospital, and they're like, Chris, where do you want to go? Like, and I was like, I couldn't say it. I was like Hartford Hospital or Yale New Haven, either one. So Taryn Taryn looks at me and she's like, where do you want to go? And I was like, I couldn't say anything. Couldn't even like shake my head. So we chose to go to Yale New Haven Hospital, which is a phenomenal facility.
Right.
So I was
good
very
spot
lucky.
to go to for strokes too.
Yeah. So I go there and they drive me again. I'm trying to lift my right leg. Can't do it. Can't speak. Like I could probably like grunt or say something like that. But
They must have known that you had a stroke though. Like
so they gave me the I forgot the medication name. They give me it's
IV
basically a
of it.
clot buster, and they did that. And I get to Yale. I remember they transport me like immediately to an operating table. Get on the table. I feel cold, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what this feels like. It happened 3 years ago.
Right.
Right. Go in. They just rip the shirt I'm in and just cut it right up. And
It's like it was one of my favorites.
yeah. Now I never wear my favorite shirt when I'm eating dinner.
Smart. Good.
So-
You're smart.
Oh, yeah. So when I'm lying there, I basically get like given anesthesia, right? I'm out. Then I wake up mildly, so I'm not up. I wake up. The tube is down my throat still.
Oh no.
Tube is down my throat, and who's there?
Oh, you're intubated and
Yeah. So who's there? My parents. My mom and dad are there. My brother and his girlfriend, and Taryn. Those people are there, and I'm there, and I'm like I can feel like the tube that's on my teeth.
yeah.
So I'm like, and they try and take it out. So first time Taryn, I didn't even know this, but Taryn came up the first time. I wasn't doing anything. Second time she came up, it was like at the end, and I was there, and that was like the time where she was like, okay. She's like, are you okay, Chris? And I couldn't say anything, right? So I wake up the next morning, tube is out, and I wake up, and people come in and they start asking me questions, like simple questions that you and I could answer now. But they were like, Chris, do you know what year it is? And I would go into a moment where I would be thinking and thinking and thinking, and I'd be like, I don't. Like, I don't.
Did you feel like you knew you were supposed to know what year it was? Like, were
Yeah.
you thinking
I
like,
thought
damn,
I was
like, why
supposed to
can't
know.
I?
Yeah, and then like, oh, who's the president? And I would be like, it's Obama? No, it's Trump, right? I would then correct it. That was eventually down the road. But the moment that really, really, really struck me was those two. But then also I had to eat, so it was breakfast time. So they provide me some type of breakfast. Like, what do you want? And I just said like, I didn't even say anything. It was just a plate that was served to me. And I get it, and I try to grab my fork. So remember with my right hand, because I'm a righty. Right? Try to grab my fork. As I pick it up, I couldn't. I couldn't even lift my arm. So I went like this to grab it. I grab it like this, and then I'm like, this is not going to work. So I was like this. I tried to eat it like this, and I just dropped it. I dropped it, and then like I didn't drop the fork, but I dropped my arm. And I was like, can I do it with my left? And I did it with my left, and I started eating with my left hand. And then the same thing happened. I just kept trying my right because I'm just so used to doing it.
Right.
But that was the moment where I was like, man, I'm not in control of anything.
Yeah.
I'm not in control of anything. And after that, like a few hours later, or maybe it was the next day, I can't remember exactly, but the next day, they said, Chris, we're gonna try and walk now. And I was like, okay. It was tough.
Brutal.
It wasn't like I was like in crutches or using a walker, but I was literally, it was a struggle to just get there. And I did like 10 steps out and back. They wouldn't even let me go to the bathroom yet. So like I couldn't do that. So basically all the things that many people take for granted, Like,
right, just being able to walk down the
just to walk or
eat with your right hand.
Yeah, when you guys go out and grab dinner tonight,
Yeah.
can't do that. It's totally not in your control.
Right.
And for me, that was like, oh man, like I got back to the why me. And then, so as these things are happening.
And it's crazy to think from like competitive marathon runner to not being able to walk down the hallway 10 steps.
And it's funny because most of the people, the doctors, the nurses who see me when I'm in there, one, I'm the youngest guy in the cardiac ward.
Yeah, I bet,
right? Because they're usually 80s, 60s, 70s, and it's usually like a heart attack or something like that. Some other strokes too.
Yeah.
But they're like, it's almost like why is he here? But yeah, so that happened. And over the course of 3 days, this is what I'm talking about, like blessing. I begin to walk. I begin to be able to pick up my hand. Right, I began to do those things, and I really pushed myself to try and do it. Even the little things. So I wear contacts. I couldn't put contacts in my eyes. I slept with the same contacts for 3 days.
That's and I don't have contacts, but I know people that do, and that's like shitty.
Yeah, it's just like and I was scraping my eyes and all that kind of stuff. But it was just like, and it felt like an eyelash was in your eye. So it was like the little things that I took for granted before.
Right.
Like we were talking about, like putting contacts,
Put
drinking.
stuff into perspective.
100%.
Like how grateful were you to be able to be like, okay, wow, I can use my right hand again to eat some eggs, you know?
Yeah. So that's what I do now. So how has this like made a difference? And I'll say, before I get into that, it was super tough.
Right.
It was super tough because psychologically it was really tough. This I think, so this was right after COVID started too.
Okay.
And I was like, oh man, did I get COVID?
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the hospital. And then I got tested. The antibodies was negative. But the major thing with this too was I did it, and the next 6 months, I would say even until like August, super low. and
Just like morale and like life.
Yeah, but Taryn's there for me. She was
Right.
always there for me, and that gave me meaning. Taryn gives me meaning now. Same with my faith, right? My faith and those things are really super strong now. Versus like the other things that we all go for.
Right. All the stuff that doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And those things are like money, cars, this kind of things.
Yeah.
I don't care what type of car I drive, just to get me somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Point A to point B.
Yeah. So those were really tough. And every morning now I wake up. Tara and I recently started a new like tradition. We pray before we go to sleep. I always say, first thing I think when I wake up, thank God you allowed me to wake up today.
Yeah.
And when I go to sleep, thank God you allowed me to have courage and be humble throughout the day.
Yeah.
So those things still are going, but like motivation-wise, it was just like I couldn't flip the switch. Like it would just be down, right? And it was the thing. It was at work, right? I'm one of those guys. I can sort of put on a face. Like I can be awesome with my patients, but deep inside, man, I'm hurting.
Yeah.
Right? I'm hurting, and that was tough. That was tough. And like I said before, that's where I feel like I have a sense of urgency.
Right.
And a lot of people will be like, Chris, why are you working so hard now? Like, Chris, go. You're going to get burned out. Man, I don't know if I'm going to have another day.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? I could be.
I mean, none of us really do, but for you, it's just in perspective a lot more than for other people, right?
Right.
Yeah, and they're like, Chris, you're going to get burned out. We're looking out for you. And I'm like, man, I seriously don't know if I'm going to have another stroke when I'm going for dinner tonight.
Right.
So walking on eggshells all the time too.
Yeah.
You start to like, oh, is this a different feeling? Right?
What happened since like August to now? Like where you said you had that low time till August. You're feeling better now?
It's hit or miss.
Okay.
For sure. I'm still sort of fighting through that. But overall, the first most important thing for me is to again appreciate the small
Attitude
things.
of gratitude, yeah.
For sure. And that's something else we do too is we pray, right? And then what we say is, what is one thing you're grateful for today?
Right.
And that definitely makes you have a different outlook.
Yeah.
But it's also too when you go to work too. It's almost like, am I putting on a different face and they don't know it, right? Do they care for me?
Right.
Right? Would they care for me? Right? So those types of things were really tough.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna really just work hard at everything I do. I'm gonna put that effort in because I don't know if or when something's gonna happen. And interestingly enough, there was something that did happen that turned me around a little bit. So I've been coaching this one girl in particular for Green Farms Academy, and if we had a season, she'd be ranked in Connecticut, no problem. Okay. But she wrote this article. It's for like the Westport Wilton magazine.
Yep.
and she was asked, "Who's your mentor?"
She wrote about you.
She said me,
Nice.
and she said he's the most. I'm gonna
Paraphrase.
mess it up,
Yeah.
so Mike, you may have to put this in.
Yeah, I got you.
But it's like he's very like he puts his heart into it essentially, right?
Mhm.
He's very like genuinely a nice guy, and he's always looking out for me.
Right.
That for me changed
Mm.
because and it was funny because I was on a walk with my dad, and I was like, Dad, that's why I do it.
Yeah.
We have a banner up that we won a New England championship, but for me, that's like everybody's trying to get that goal. But what we achieved that season, like with the girls together, the boys together, it can never match that. It can never
it's
match
like,
it.
It's like you were saying before, when you're coaching is when you forget about yourself.
For sure.
You know, so when you're being of service to other people is when you stop thinking about what's
100%.
going on with you, get out of your own head.
Yep.
Mhm.
And
help other
and,
people.
like for me, I don't do meditation. For
Right.
me,
Mm.
that's my meditative time. Service to others.
Yeah.
Because I don't think about it. It's
Yeah.
just like it was when I was running before.
Mhm.
But that moment for that magazine changed my life
Yeah.
for that time because it really redirected me. It was like, okay, that's a purpose for me.
Yeah.
But Taryn gave me meaning.
Nice.
Do you have a sense of like, ever since like all this stuff happened, like just what you're putting your time into, right? Like what's actually really important in life?
Yeah.
Like, are you like, you know,
Yeah, I think I definitely do. I would definitely say for me, it's service, number one.
right.
And I even tell my patients and clients this. I don't tell the kids this too much, but for me, the reason I got to be a dietitian is to help people.
Right.
So I never forget that. So even if I'm working later, I have to work an extra 30 minutes, half an hour, or whatever, or 45 minutes just to help somebody understand something. Man, I'm going to do it. I'm not that person. That's the one thing, too. I'm not the person to punch because my time clock is, I have to leave.
Right.
Because for me, it's all about quality over quantity.
Got it.
You can, I would love to see like 4 patients a day and be life-changing versus seeing 16 and only people that just say, oh, I had an appointment.
Right.
I always think this way too, is think of your teacher. I'll ask you, Jake. I'll spin the mic around.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So Jake, who do you remember the most, right? I'll ask 2 questions. Number 1, who was the Olympic gold medalist in the Tokyo Olympics for the heptathlon? You don't know,
No idea. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you don't know the facts,
Right.
even champions, right?
Yeah.
Who was your favorite teacher?
I had a rough time in school, so I didn't like most teachers,
Yeah.
you know, but the one teacher that stands out to me
Yeah.
is this guy, Mike, from when I was at like the Fairfield Alternative High School, who
Okay.
got me through high school. Right?
So let me ask you this: why was he your favorite?
Yeah, he put the time in. He was like, he wasn't just trying to push me through or just
Collect checks.
collect. Yeah, he was there to actually make a difference.
Yeah.
Right.
So you felt it,
Yeah.
right? I want to have that feeling.
I still
for-
talk to him today. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That you had the feeling. He made you feel a certain way. We always remember feelings versus accolades.
Right.
Same thing with money, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can only drive a new car once,
Right. None of it keeps you happy.
right? And
Yeah.
you can only have so many suits perfectly fit,
Yeah.
right?
It might give you that instant gratification,
Yeah.
but it's
Right.
not lasting.
No.
So that's what I'm saying with that whole thing with that runner who was really good. She ran fast, but man, I could make an impact on her for a long time.
Right.
You know?
100%.
Yeah.
It's amazing. No, so our friend Danny that we had on the other day,
Yeah.
his story is like his daughter had leukemia at 18 months old, you know?
Yeah.
And like he was saying like once that happened, it was like he didn't like his exact words were he didn't give a fuck about anything else. You know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
it was like you just lose sight of all of the things in life where it's just none of it matters.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure. Your perspective shifts, and you just have to understand that that's a perspective like that you should be looking at life at. And again, I think this goes to sort of the negative aspect of social media, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of negative,
Right.
right? You're comparing to other people. Before it used to be you're comparing people in your neighborhood. Oh, well, you're the best basketball player in your neighborhood. Not anymore. Now it's like, oh, you see this kid on Instagram? See this kid on Instagram? Right? It's not just you, it's the world now.
Right.
So in that sense, it definitely clouts what you should be seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to anybody anyways, right? Like
Sure.
we're all on our own
Running
path,
our own
our own
race.
journey. Yeah.
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's on the
What's coming up?
what's coming up? Like
So-
what are the plans? You're getting married, right?
Yeah, super blessed. Taryn and I are getting married October 17th,
Nice.
3:00. So yeah, so we're really lucky that we're getting married, and we made the decision to sort of push through to do
Right.
it during COVID, because I always had the mindset too, if you can make it through this, like
Yeah.
we've been making through a lot of the tough times,
Mm.
you can do a lot.
Yeah.
You can do a lot for sure.
And then physically, it's just lifting weights from now on, right?
Yeah, so I don't put that much into it anymore. Like I'll lift maybe 4 times a week, and then for like an hour,
Yep.
and then do
Which is
some.
still a good amount
Yeah.
of time for for most people.
You
to
look
go there.
good. You look good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you're a registered dietitian, so like I'm sure your diet is tight and
Try to, yeah, but again, I give myself a little bit of leeway too.
Yeah,
I mean,
you gotta-
that's
gotta
part of
enjoy the
life.
ice cream, right?
I know.
Sometimes
I know.
I'm like the old, I think like having a slice of pizza every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Oh, I can't wait.
So Mike is doing it's interesting that we have you on too, because our first guest was our friend Ryan Nattar. He's naturopathic physician,
Yeah.
Yep.
also nutritionist,
Yeah.
and he had type 1 diabetes. He is on a
Carnivore diet.
pretty much all meat diet, and
Yep.
he has been for 10 years.
Yeah.
And for him, he hasn't had a carb in 10 years.
No carbs. Yep.
So for him,
Low
it's
sugar.
like that's kind of what he helps other people with diabetes do. Mike right now is on a vegan diet
Plant based, just for the
for a month,
Yeah.
right? More of like a discipline
challenge or
kind of
what?
thing.
Yeah,
Challenge,
I'm doing it
right.
with a buddy of mine. Shout out Maddie, Tam,
Yeah.
and it's it's interesting. I think everybody's different.
Yeah.
I love vegetables and fruit and all that stuff, but like you said, pizza.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes you gotta live. So I think going forward though, I'm gonna, eat more veggie kind of a way during the week, but then on weekends kind of, do my thing. I'm not gonna worry about
The
anything.
other thing that's interesting when you do diet changes like that, sure, health and all those things are important, but you also have to think the psychological aspect of it too, right? The impact that it has there. It takes a lot of reserve from you.
Right.
Like let's say somebody's emotionally just tired, right? COVID going on now. You have this emotional drain,
Right.
and then you're also putting that on top, right? I don't know if, Mike, you're not doing it probably, but people track their food.
No,
But
no.
that's another emotional thing. It's another thing for you to do. That's why it's more or less just like finding
So you're
out
saying
what
it's a
works for
good
you.
way or
No,
yeah.
I wouldn't say. I don't think that's a good idea necessarily. But again, why are they doing it, right? And if some people are doing it just to get leaner, right? We're going back to the Instagram comment, right?
Right.
You're doing it for something superficial,
right?
and I'll tell you, if having a six-pack is not going to make you feel better, because you're going to be the exact same person again.
Right.
You have all the stuff that was going on before you had a six-pack, but then the six-pack, now you do.
Yeah.
So you may feel more confident, right? You may
Yeah.
do different things that way. But
Maybe add some sort of like discipline into your life. Like
Yeah.
for sure.
That kind of boost. But I see what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
like you're not going to feel better once you get that six pack.
Being a faith guy, God will he'll keep you in line.
Yeah.
You don't need other rules and
Right.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
What is your philosophy on diet? Like eat
Yeah.
what you can sustain. Like don't diet, more lifestyle kind of.
Definitely more intuitive eating.
Right.
Because I truly believe all food fits. So I'll give you an example. So people have lists of good and bad foods. That's not healthy in a way that is psychologically healthy for you. People list bad foods.
Right. Like
Those
you don't
things
want
you're
to
gonna
beat
want
yourself up every time you eat some
You
chocolate
want-
ice
you want
cream.
more of
Right.
it,
Yeah.
Right. And I'll give you a good example. Let's say tonight you watch TV and they directly send a message to you, Mike, Jake, you can't drink water tonight. You can't drink any water. First thing you want to do is you want to drink a lot of water, right? And secondly, you're like, when can I eat it?
Right.
Same thing when you say, oh, let's just replace it with a food. You can't have a blueberry muffin. You immediately want to start having it. It's
And
like
then you're
saying,
thinking about the blueberry muffin, and you're like, all right, well, how long am I doing this until
Yep.
I can eat that blueberry
right,
muffin?
and that's why
And
when
then you binge eat blueberry muffins.
you get it, you just, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, you know.
Yep.
So that's something that you have to consider too.
Right.
And being so rigid and strict, it's again, there are certain times when you have to be for medical necessity, right?
Right.
But for lifestyle and just overall health, it's okay to have those things.
Right.
You just really have to understand why you're doing it. And I work with emotional eating a lot because now with COVID, there's boredom because you don't have anywhere to go.
Right.
Right. There's also stress because of COVID, right? All of these things are going to influence your endocrine and all your endocrine systems and metabolically, right? To want more of these things.
Yeah.
You know?
I kind of took COVID as like some time to be able to, like, the good thing about it was being at home and being able to cook all the meals.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Instead
sure.
of being like, all right, you know, I'm going to work till 8 o'clock tonight and grab
Pick up
takeout on the way home. Like,
Yeah.
I was eating way healthier during all of that. And I was also thinking like, all right, I can't go to the gym. Like, you know, I'm doing push-ups and have these stupid resistance bands, you know? So I was like, I really have to try to like stay healthy somehow. Like, I need that kind of discipline in my life. So it was like,
For sure, but the other thing too about it is the nice thing is you found that the positive of it.
right.
Many people are like, oh, I can't lift.
Yeah.
Okay, you found a way to do it. Same thing with food, right? You're like, some people be like, oh, I can't order anything, or I
Yeah.
can't cook, right? This is the time to learn something,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And that's why currently what we do is at Hartford Healthcare, what I try to do is caring for people. People eat the same old foods all the time. We do a Facebook Live cooking class every Monday at 12:30.
Right. I see it sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we do it, and I'm like, to be honest with you, I'm intermediate chef at best.
Right.
But for me, it's not about that. It's about making it taste good, right? Making it cheap so everybody can afford it, and making it quick.
Yeah, that's one of like I think the biggest myths about healthy eating is that like it's too expensive
Yeah.
to eat healthy. But it's really
I hate
not.
that
I mean, it's
argument.
like-
I always rebuttal like, what's more expensive, that or your bill when you have like an extreme issue with your body, you know, like you
Yeah.
can't even afford that, like $100 extra, you know, a month for groceries or
It's crazy how much-
$55,000 bill.
how overlooked diet gets because it's like you're
Yeah.
literally eating all day. You know what I mean? All day
Yeah.
long, every single day. It's just this is what you're putting in your body all day.
So it's interesting you mentioned that. So I talk to high school kids all the way up to college athletes now. I love that. That's the part of the job that I love.
Okay.
And I tell them all the time, let's say they're practicing for an hour a day.
Yep.
They hopefully sleep for 8 hours,
Yep.
right?
Which most high schoolers and college kids do not,
Don't,
right?
And then you basically have, let's round it up for 10 hours for those things. They practice for 2 hours that day. You have 14 hours to eat.
yeah.
That's the majority of the day.
Right.
The other aspect of it too is, let's say that same thing is the same issue. That means you have 960 minutes every day to do something,
Oh yeah, to do something else other than
right?
yeah.
And most people are like, I don't have time. That's a lot of time,
Right.
right? So, and again, it's not that you have to prepare all your meals, but it's finding those alternatives wherever you go.
Right.
Like if you go out for a restaurant, you can't always find these keto meals and all these things, right? So you can also do those things and it's totally fine,
Yeah.
right? Just learning of your hunger cues and satiety cues after and truly listening to your body.
Yeah.
I tell my patients all the time, your body never lies to you,
Yeah.
right? It tells you when you're tired.
I read a book called I think it was 7 Habits for
Effective people.
for lifelong. No, 7 Habits for like lifelong weight loss.
Oh, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember the woman's name who wrote it, but that was like a pretty like life-changing book because it wasn't a diet book. It was more just like just stuff like small things like wait till you feel hungry to
Yeah.
actually eat something or you
Yeah.
know, eat off of a smaller plate, like all these small things that were like, you know,
Yeah.
certain foods to incorporate inside of every single meal, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, my philosophy with that and like strength and conditioning, right, is 2 things. One, it's the basics work,
Right.
right? They're simple, but you have to do them well and you have to do them all the time.
Yeah.
I always use that.
Consistency. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had the mindset. So Coach Wooden was a huge influence on me based on what I've read of his.
Yep.
And the first few days of practice, he'd teach the kids how to put socks on and in their shoes. He's like, and his idea behind that was because then if a kid has blisters, he's not going to be able to play.
Right.
He's not going to be playing to his best. He's going to be dealing with that instead.
It's attention to the small details sometimes. Yeah.
I think that's his quote. I'm not a good quote guy, but I think that's pretty close to him.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome. So, what do you have anything? I know you're on the news every once in a while. You have anything like coming
Yeah.
up? Anywhere that we can find you?
Yeah, so we're doing some things. We're doing some cooking classes up at the Bone and Joint. They'll be on the Facebook Live group, and they'll be on other things too. So if you're looking on the Facebook Live group, it's just my name, Chris Barrett, the letters RD,
Okay.
for registered dietitian. And those things in there, those are going to be, that's just fun.
Yeah.
I always say that's like my nutritional playground.
Yep.
I just get to joke and sort of get a breath during the middle of the day. And then we're also going to be doing cooking classes with a lot of other people. We're going to try and get people in there
Cool.
other professionals, just to let them explain what they do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because the big thing about food too, and not many people really think about it, but they're probably missing it now during COVID. That's when a lot of fun conversations happen.
Right, like sitting around a dinner table,
Yeah.
going out to eat, all that.
Yeah, that's where I grew. That's what I had like when I was growing up. That's like some of the life lessons you learn there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, for example, even if they're just there, my dad and mom were always there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Yeah, at
Yeah.
the dinner
And then,
at the dinner table.
and where can people find you if they, need to reach out and contact you?
Yeah, that would be the best way to do it.
Okay.
Via that Chris Barrett RD. That I don't really use Instagram too much anymore, but
Okay.
but overall, Facebook is the way to contact me.
Cool.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. You have anything else you wanted to add in? Like, you want a note that you want to leave on?
No, I think basically one of the things is appreciate every day that you have,
Right.
because you don't know when your day is. You're not going to be there anymore. And the other thing is truly love those people around you.
Yeah.
So in particular, like Taryn and I, we always have a long hug before I leave work, and when I come home. Right? You made it. You survived the day.
Right.
So yeah, for me, it's always enjoy the day and just embrace the day every day. Even the things that may be difficult,
Like, be there. Yeah.
be there. And then, yeah, that's the major thing is just enjoy the day and enjoy your friends too.
Awesome. I think it
Nice.
was, an amazing, inspiring story. It was like,
Yeah.
it really like puts a lot into perspective, I think, for everybody who's going to listen to it. Just
Yeah.
be like, wow, like I need to take a step back.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
appreciate everything going on in my life
Yeah.
and remember how quickly things can change and how unexpectedly things can change too,
Yeah, and again, like you guys are guys that I always think about when I think of Fairfield, Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut, this area down here, southwestern Connecticut. Keep doing what you're doing. You're
Well.
definitely helping some people out.
Thanks,
and,
man.
Yeah, I'm truly appreciative and grateful you guys had me on here.
Yeah,
No,
we
you
can't wait to have you back on.
Yeah, honestly, you could come
Yeah.
on anytime, and maybe next time we get someone else to come on and have another person, they could bounce maybe different diet
Nutrition
ideas.
stuff.
Yeah,
I'd love to do
seriously.
that,
We
sure.
could do a cooking show one day.
Yeah, seriously, we can. We could stream it live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
I'd
That would
love
be
to
a
do
lot
that.
of fun.
Hell
That'd
Yeah.
be fun.
we
Yeah.
could add that as like a regular thing every
Yeah.
couple months, like
I'm
cooking
down.
with Chris.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
That'd be
Let's
fun.
do it.
Hell yeah. We'll be in talks. Our people. We'll call your people.
Tired, nigga.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
I need to get out the city. I need to get out the city. I need to go to an island to bring all my niggas there with me, oh Lord. I need to get out the city. I need to get out the city.